Now we're very early into the first week of a new month and already things are starting to, shape up pretty interesting. As many of you would have seen, and some may not have seen, E3 has been cancelled this year. This will be the second year in a row that the live show has been cancelled. Now this didn't come in the form of an official announcement, instead it was found by documentation by Reset Error, documents that were filed to LA City. You can see the relevant section on the screen right here. It says simply cancelled live event in 2021, working with production team on broadcast options at LA Live, LACC, working on a 2022 and 2023 license. So they definitely want to come back for next year and the year after. It's just this year is a bit of an issue, obviously because of the pandemic and the current state of things. You know, it kind of seems to me then at this point it raises a pretty interesting question. Do the large developers, the large publishers really need a large-scale digital industry event at this point? They seem quite capable, more than capable in fact, of doing their own thing as and when it suits them, and that seems to be kind of working out well at the moment. I mean, don't get me wrong, losing the live show is a big thing. E3 after all is the largest show in the industry of the year, so missing it is definitely going to be a huge hit for a lot of people. I know a lot of people really do like it. And ultimately, simply because of that, there's not really any way that a broadcast event is going to capture the mood of E3. I guess we'll have to see. A lot of it will really depend on what the publishers want to do and whether they want to get on board or whether they want to head off and simply do their own thing. Time will tell on that one, I guess. Now, talking of publisher events, there was a very recent Sony State of Play. A couple of highlights there that I want to talk about. One is called Returnal. This is an exclusive PlayStation 5 game. It's a roguelike. A big fan of roguelike games, in case anyone's wondering. Probably many of you will already realise that. But basically, the situation here is that the character has crash-landed on a planet and needs to fight their way across it, slowly revealing a story as they go. Now, the combat on this one looks particularly high-paced, and no doubt I'll be dying on this one a lot if I'm playing it myself. But that seems to be a part of the charm, as it is with all roguelikes. Every time you die, every time you come back, the world is regenerated in a different way. So, a lot of replayability here. And the trailer itself seemed to give off some interesting vibes, some mystery to uncover.
Exactly as I left it.
So, worth a look, I think. In another PlayStation 5 exclusive, we've got Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade. So this is a re-release of a remake. Absolutely loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. This one is going to come with some enhancements for PlayStation 5. It's also going to come with a new episode focusing on the character Yuffie. Now, this is kind of a good thing. It's kind of nice to see an upgrade to Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was a very good game after all. This, by the way, will be free to existing owners of the PlayStation 4 edition, although not for some reason for anyone who got it on PlayStation Plus. So, whilst on the one hand, Returnal is a good thing, it's also kind of a bit of an iffy thing in the sense that it feels a little like Square Enix are just milking a Final Fantasy VII again and again at this point. How many of you want to see the next episode? I kind of want to move on. Probably a long way away at this point, so is something better than nothing? Everyone's opinion on that, no doubt, is going to vary, so let me know below what you think on that particular thing. Now, yesterday we saw a brand new image on what was allegedly from Starfield. Now, of course, nothing, so far virtually nothing anyway, is known about Starfield. Bethesda have been remarkably quiet about this one. Hopefully it's going to get a surprise release announcement one day, with Bethesda simply saying the game's going to be available next week or next month. But at any rate, until then, this alleged leak. You can see the image on the screen right here. Got a lot of people talking. It seems to have all the hallmarks of a genuinely leaked image. We can see the watermarks have been removed, and we can see that the UI is down in the bottom left hand corner, and this UI matches the apparent leaks that we saw previously. However, it was very quickly debunked. There's a whole bunch of claims that the image is actually from the game Mýrdalssandur, and I've probably absolutely butchered that name there. This is a free-to-play VR game that's available on Steam, and it's actually a beautiful looking game. I'm going to actually play this evening. The link is below if you want to try it out yourself. It does look like it's well worth exploring, but yeah, either one of the worlds in Starfield is remarkably similar to places on Iceland, or the leak is fake. That seems the most likely option, doesn't it? At any rate, if you want to check out the many tweets on this particular story, do check out the links in the video description. Now, one thing that's definitely not fake, it's not a leak, is R-Type Final 2. And this is very much a retro game. I was a huge fan of R-Type back in the arcade heydays in the 80s. I used to put many 10-pence pieces into the old arcade machine here, using up life after life. Now, R-Type is, of course, a very iconic game, a seminal classic in many ways. R-Type Final released in the early 2000s, and since then we haven't really seen too much of it, except for some remakes on mobile platforms and some other platforms, but it's coming back with a vengeance. R-Type Final 2 is due for release on the 29th of April, so pretty soon now. Now, this is a game I'm really looking forward to. You can see some of the visuals on the screen right now, and it's definitely got some of the feel of the original with some extremely updated graphics, and the pacing of the whole thing seems to be very familiar. Now, there's a nice new interview over on Eurogamer if you want to read that. It gives you a little bit of an insight as to the backstory of R-Type Final 2 and how it all came about. So again, the link for that is in the video description. Meanwhile, over in EVE Online, CCP are trying out something new, and this is called the Expert Systems. So this is aimed at getting around one of the hugest problems with EVE Online, and that is the hurdles with the skill systems. Now, personally, I really do enjoy EVE Online's offline skill system. I think it works very well, but the biggest problem with this is that it can take an absolute age for you to try something new out. If you've got a new career path in mind or a new type of ship, you've got to put lots of hours, potentially days, maybe even months into training a particular skill set. Downside is that it may be a case these don't turn out or what you'd expect or what you'd enjoy. Whilst you can kind of refund some of these, it doesn't really get back the time wasted. And this is where the Expert Systems comes in. Expert Systems then will essentially grant players access to a whole set of skills temporarily. So, in theory, this is a great idea, right? Well, the EVE Online community are not huge fans of this. There's many people outspoken against it, and the reason being, one of the primary reasons against it, being that it is monetized. The only way to gain access to Expert Systems is through a microtransaction. So yes, it's going to cost real-world money to try out some temporary skills, and once the time's up, the skills are fully removed. There's no word yet on how much these Expert Systems are going to cost, but with the way the community seem to feel about it right now, it seems that another wave of frustration will be coming once these fees and costs are announced. So that brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.